Molo Sanbonani, hello, how's it? Goedemiddag and shalom. Shalom, good people. I am just going to give it a moment for people to hop on to the stream. I know I did put this out rather last minute as something that I want to chat about. I see you guys coming on. I just need a quick confirmation as to whether you can hear me though. So if you're here on the stream, just pop a quick message, hashtag stand with BDL, then I know that you guys can actually hear me. I see you, Robin Dandelion. Shout out to you. Jason Getz. What's up, homie? Johan, thank you for that confirmation. That's right. Got myself a haircut. Looking fresh out here, boy. Got my edges right, looking good. Shout out to you guys. I see you, Jared Carter, with the hashtag stand with BDL. Tian Foster, I see you, homie. And Michael Miller, I see you guys. Thank you so much for hopping on to the stream. I'm sure there'll be more of us. Daniela Porgider, badankie vir die boodskap. Ek sien jou boodskap wat sê hashtag staan met BDL of stand with BDL. I see you guys. Belinda Ann Lobley, looking sharp. I know, girl. Your favorite fat boy spent a little bit of money, you know. I'm usually very frugal with that cash, but I said, hey, man, I've been looking raggedy out here. People starting to call me Raggedy Ann, or Raggedy Andy, rather. And I said, nah, let me rather get that haircut. Don't want to be out here looking like a Sasquatch. Shout out to my friend Darren Morris, who it does look like a Sasquatch. All right, guys, this is not going to be much of a long stream, and I really do mean that, because this is more just me trying to get something off my chest, a warning that I had given at the very beginning of this lockdown. Stefano Samprini, shout out to you, homie. That's my good friend Stefano. Yes, this is a Hawaiian shirt, homie. This is my Boogaloo shirt. This is the shirt I wear when I'm trying to hide them things. When I'm going Boogaloo. So this is my Boogaloo look. My Boogaloo look. Shout out to you, Stefano Samprini, wherever you are in the world, homie. I should call you Carmen San Diego. This guy who I'm talking about, Stefano, good friend of mine, travels the world. He travels the world. You never know where this homie is. I should call him Carmen San Diego, you know, because this homie is always globetrotting. But shout out to you guys who are joining from the stream. Dion Vogues, I see you, homie, all the way from Gauteng. Shout out to you. I see you on the stream. I'm just going to give it a minute. I'm at the 3 minutes, 8 second mark now. So I'm literally going to give it a minute just for people to hop on to the stream. I really didn't give much in the way of forewarning for this particular vlog. And again, this vlog is going to be to the point because I am in the middle of Cape Town. I have no idea why exactly. Kerry van Skalkfake pointing out that it's buffering. I did see the buffering symbol. Guys, I'm literally in the middle of Cape Town. I'm not sure why this thing is buffering or even lagging. I see you, Robin, with the lagging comment. Mandy Mandy Gerson saying, every day I'm buffering. My goodness. All right, all good now. So let me keep it short because, goodness me, I'm going to so leave Vodacom. I've been saying this, but I'm actually going to leave Vodacom. It's ridiculous. All right. Shout out to you, Rena Williams, all the way from the United Kingdom. How's the weather out there? Have y'all started seeing snow in that part of the world? I know it's winter, of course, in your part of the world. All right, guys, I'm nearing. There we go. So, what's going on in South Africa? You have a police minister, a one beggy, the asshat Tele, out here looking like, you know, Dick Tracy with that hat of his, that ass hat. Going on to ENCA and, of course, other platforms, almost bragging about how since March, since March, basically the effective beginning of the lockdown, just over 342,000 South Africans, 342,000 of my fellow South Africans have been subject to violence from this government, violence from the state, a state which is busy at the moment trying to enforce arbitrary and rather asinine lockdown regulations. Regulations which, by their own account, effectively, if you consider what they tell us, the lockdown and the regulations are meant to achieve, if you consider what they tell us about what they're meant to achieve, they're clearly not achieving that. Is this lockdown stopping the spread, hashtag, of COVID-19? No, of course not. Because the whole premise of stopping the spread, period, is dumb. It's stupid. It's stupid. Let's not try and beat around the bush. Let's not try to be friendly about it. I know some of you are afraid to speak out because these same politicians, have enacted legislation saying if you even criticize this, you can be subject to arrest. Fuck it, I can be arrested. I don't care. That is the first time I saw on my show, because really it's gotten to a point where, on a personal level, I couldn't give a flying fudge. I will criticize this lockdown. I will criticize stupidity, and I will criticize these asinine politicians who some of you see fit to praise and worship. Oh, they're so fantastic. Cyril, he's so great. He's such a hero. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, Cyril, come kiss my baby. Proper clown world, where you have a toxic coalition of social elites, political elites, and effectively, the media elite, shilling for these politicians, even as people's quality of life is crumbling before their eyes. There are South Africans who could have told you a mere 6-7 months ago that they're fine financially. Today, that same South African telling you we're on the brink, we're on the cusp, we're scrambling for meals, whether we can have a meal on the table. 7 months, guys. How's that for a good script? How to destroy a country in 7 months. I can just see the movie promo. This summer, Cyril Ramaphosa, the douchebag, is back, squirreling his way through bad policy, with policy that is nuttier than squirrel shit. Oh, I'm sorry. Yo, that's a good line. Lockdown, a policy that is nuttier than squirrel shit. I'm sorry, I digress. Yo, it must be this haircut. I'm swearing so much. Oh my goodness. Maybe it's like my Samson haircut. The moment you cut my hair, I just start flicking all over. But I promise I'll keep it PG. I will not swear. But I want to get back to the point, which is, these politicians are creating a misery, a collective misery, which is supported by, as I said, the media elite, the social elites, the people who haven't missed any damn salaries since the beginning of this lockdown. And of course, they're supported by the political elites broadly. And what we're seeing, if I had to come back to the point, is that this gaggle of people, this toxic coalition, are applauding the fact that ordinary South Africans, people like you and me, the ordinary God-fearing, law-abiding, and family-orientated South African is now being subject to violence by the state by way of arrests, by way of assaults, by way of even murders. You've got to remember, don't have a goldfish memory. You've got to remember the likes of Abo Collins Khoza, who were murdered at the hands of a state that is trying to enforce asinine lockdown regulations. If there's one thing I really wish in 2021 that the South African psyche abandons, is this goldfish mentality, this goldfish behavior, predisposition, I don't know what to call it, that we have. where we quickly forget the nature of politicians, especially when they start dangling goodies in front of us, especially around election time. Suddenly we forget the nature of politicians. Or we forget how abusive politicians are. It's important, people. It's important, people. We need to stay conscious, we need to stay vigilant, and we need to start speaking up, more importantly. And not just speaking up, acting. Acting. As that famous line in the movie Life by Martin Lawrence and Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy says, there's going to be some consequences and repercussions up in here. We've reached that point. We've reached that point. Because as I said, there is nothing normal. For as much as there is a desperate attempt to normalize it, there is nothing normal about a state that can arrest in a matter of 6 months, a state that can arrest 342,000 South Africans for a myriad of petty and arbitrary regulations, some of which have included, for example, if you don't have a goldfish memory, you'll remember. Some of these regulations have included not having an open-toe shoe, not wearing a wife-beater vest, and not being able to be sold a T-shirt, for example, in winter. Asinine regulations have seen people being arrested. 342,000 of us. What's that? You got a roast chicken in your hand. Where'd you buy it? Arrest him. Arrest him, says the asshat. What's that? You're filming on the beach? Shut it down. Shut it down. You, PJ. It's JP, sir. Oh, yeah, whatever. JP, PJ. Shut this all down. Everybody must go. That's been the arrogance that's been thrown your way in the name of these lockdown regulations. So that if you are conscious and if you're awake, you'll realize that these lockdown regulations have jack fiddly squat in real terms to do with the stated goal of stopping the spread. An asinine position in and of itself, as I've argued. And that if anything, we're seeing a consolidation of power by politicians. We're seeing a political elite which is appropriating more power for itself. And the virus of COVID-19 has been a fantastic excuse for them to do this. Oh, it's been a windfall for these politicians. So why would they stop it? Why would they stop it? I mean, after all, this crisis is going so well for them. It's going absolutely well for them. So that the cost of it, though, the cost of it is not being borne by them. The cost of lockdown as a policy, as a asinine and unscientific policy, is not being borne by the people who are making the decisions around it, i.e. politicians. It's been borne by ordinary people, both as a social cost and an economic one. Economically, we've gone over this. Maybe you're a victim of it right now. Maybe you're sitting, you have no work. Maybe your business is about to tank. I know mine is. I've told you guys I have a small transport business on the side, which helps fund what I do, in addition to you guys donating, of course, and contributing to the show. But my business is basically, it's done. It's basically done. People who are able to put bread on the table because I took a little bit of risk and started a small business, I have to look those people in the eye and tell them, chaps, I'm sorry. Awukum sebens, pele lindab. And my workers are not, they're not unique in that sense. Millions of you have been put in that situation where your employer, whether it's a large, medium, or small employer, mostly the small and medium ones, have come to you and said, that's it, there's no work. I'm sorry, guys, we have to shut down. Not because we as a business have done something wrong, not because I as an entrepreneur have made bad business decisions. No, we're shutting down because politicians deem it so. because politicians are not bearing the cost economically, as I'm making the point, of this lockdown. We are, you are. Then there's the social cost. Remember I said there's two areas where we are bearing the cost and politicians aren't. The social cost, of course, is where this video is going to go, and it's going to conclude in the next 5 minutes, which is you are creating a criminal class out of ordinarily law-abiding citizens. For example, why didn't the media ask, who are those 342,000 South Africans who were locked up and arrested, humiliated, subject to state violence? Who are those 342 South Africans? Could it be your mom, your dad, your brother maybe? There's a story which you guys shared with me of a family in PE, or was it East London somewhere, where they were new parents, sorry, I don't know how to phrase that, excuse that, new baby, and for whatever reason, there was an urgent need for baby formula, a specialized baby formula. Just want to let this cup through. A specialized baby formula. And they had to go to, I believe it's Unitas Hospital. Is it Unitas Hospital, guys? Those who are in that part of the world, you'll correct me. The father had to rush to Unitas Hospital, and it was after this newly adjusted level 3 hatapatata nonsense. And the curfew obviously was brought down to 9 p.m. But this man said, hey man, curfew or not, my family needs this right now. He took an executive decision as a father of a household that I would rather break the law and make sure that my family is catered for. And he did the right thing in that regard. Shout out to him. Faith, flag, family, freedom. Family, freedom, as I always say. Took a decision that my kids come first, or my child comes first, went to Unitas, and for doing that was arrested. You mean to tell me no police officer could use discretion and logic and reason and empathy and say, you know what, dude, I understand your circumstances. And by the way, as far as I know and hear the story, this man was able to prove that he was doing exactly as you're stating was the reason for him heading outside of this lockdown. Excuse me, outside of the curfew. Cape Town drivers, y'all are just annoying. Anyway, he produced a slip and said, guys, look, I'm not out and about having a job. I literally was running to Unitas, this hospital, to get the meds, or excuse me, to get this formula, and I was going to go back home. No, cops arrested him, subjected him to a humiliating ordeal, being arrested, can you imagine, for looking after your family? But I digress. No, I don't digress. I'm making the spot on point, which is that is a social cost that is being borne on us of turning ordinarily law-abiding citizens into criminals. What do you think the repercussions of that will be? If you live in a country where you as the law-abiding guy are being subject to arbitrary arrests like that, what do you think the implications of that will be? How seriously will South Africans take the rule of law if you as the law-abiding citizen are being targeted by harassment by politicians, where politicians are even devoting, just to add insult to injury, those same politicians who you then at least hope are going to go after criminals, the actual criminals, say, no, would rather devote a lion's share of these resources, or rather, to be more accurate, to devote more resources, they tell us, to enforcing these lockdown regulations in the most fruitless instances ever. Deploying the army and more police onto beaches. Guys, really? So that I repeat the question. What will be the social cost? Do you really think South Africans are going to take policing and law enforcement, and by extension, the rule of law seriously, when they know that a politician would rather spend more money to arrest me as a soft target than to go after the hardened criminals who continue to walk the streets. You've got to remember, in any democracy, in any functional and healthy democracy, politicians and the government rule by consent of the public. Policing and law enforcement polices through consent from the public. The day that public revokes that consent, oh, good luck to you. Good luck to you, because no amount of policing and no amount of soldiers on the streets can stop that let me call it that anger, to be polite, because I nearly called it something else. And we're fast reaching that point as South Africans. Not that it's a place where we've never been. I mean, we've all seen very violent service delivery protests in this country, and that is a symptom of what I'm talking about here, where a group of people, a community, revoke the consent to be governed by a group of people, and they become very violent, where no amount of policing can stop that anger. And what I'm saying to you is that if you continue this path of locking up damn near 400,000 people now, ordinarily law-abiding people, and seemingly you're doing it with them being soft targets whilst the real criminals in this country laugh you off, then in the process, ANC politicians are eroding effectively the rule of law. And whether people take, sorry, very narrow road. And whether the public, excuse me, take law and law enforcement seriously, you're eroding that. That's my thoughts, guys, of where I'm telling you we're going. Because I'm just checking a comment now. The stream is lagging. Ooh. I'm going to give it a moment just to allow me to park. How the signal is looking now. How are we looking, guys? How are we looking? Let me know. I'm only pausing because I'm seeing a buffering symbol. So I'm just going to wait for you guys to let me know how we're looking. Go after you. Lagging big time. I see from very patchy. Because I really want to hit my concluding remarks, and I want to leave you with food for thought and then go through the comments after that. Maybe whilst I'm still trying to get to a better place, wow, it made me sound like I'm dying. I'm going to get to a better place, you guys. Just let me know, what are you guys up to? How's your day been? Happy Wednesday, people. All right, let's see here. And maybe, let me conclude. Is it still buffering? Garth McCarthy says it's still buffering. Yeah, guys, sorry about that. Nothing much I can do at this point, except maybe to wrap up. Yeah, I hate Vodacom. Anyway, let me wrap up. Let me summate. Nano Luther saying, I need to buy credit. Lloyd Orvad, it's working fine. Thanks, dude. Okay, perfect. Ngobi, I see you. Thank you for confirming. Let me conclude, guys. So, as I said, you're facing a situation when you look at the number of arrests and they continue to tick up. And by the way, some of these arrests are really petty. You have a situation where of that number, of the 342,000 that I mentioned, 7,000 South Africans since level 3 lockdown have been arrested for not wearing a mask since they've made it mandatory. 7,000 people have been arrested for that asinine regulation. I'm telling you now, and this is my prediction, and I'm already seeing evidence of it, but you're not going to see it in the mainstream media because it disrupts what they're trying to sell you, which is that these lockdowns are good, that everybody's complying, blah, blah, blah. But I think the opposite is becoming ever increasingly true. And I say that because there are flashes in the pan across the country that are beginning to show that not only is there a fatigue from the public, a fatigue from the South African public of this COVID-19 rhetoric and assault on a day-to-day basis, specifically the lockdown narrative on a day-to-day basis, but people are actually beginning to push back. Let me be precise and specific. A few days ago, in the community of Sebokeng, churches, various churches in that part of the world, literally said, you know what, we disagree with the idea that we cannot hold safe gatherings for our church members. Now, whether you agree with that or disagree with that is not what I'm prosecuting here. I'm simply making the point that more South Africans are pushing back against the diktats of politicians, and that those individuals in Sebokeng decided, no, stuff it, we're going to hold church services. And what happened to those people? The state descended upon them with public order policing, firing rubber bullets, and throwing stun grenades or flashbangs. I don't know what they're also called. Stun grenades. I call them stun grenades. Into the crowd, roughing up some people and throwing some of them into the back of police vans. Excuse me. The images from that would have shocked anybody. Because the people who they were treating like that are not hardened criminals. They're not people who have seen the inside of Pollsmoor or Sun City. That's the maximum security prison in Pretoria. These are ordinary, God-fearing, law-abiding people by and large. And those people were subjected to state violence. So that what I'm suggesting to you is the following. You're going to see more and more. People simply saying, you know what, we're not going to comply. You're going to see more and more of that. And they're not going to comply for two reasons. One are people who are saying, no, this is nonsense, we're not going to comply. And I think they're a minority. I think the vast majority who are choosing, or who, not choosing but per se, but who will be not complying, are people who are saying, you know what, I simply can't comply anymore. Either because I can't afford it, because some of these regulations come with a cost, especially if you are a business owner or whatever the case may be. And you're kind of seeing that already too, where some business owners are not doing the whole sign in at the front, have someone at the door who will spritz these hand sanitizers on you. Like, that's moved away now to it being automated, or not automated, but like a little pedestal. You stand on it and blah, blah, blah. The point I'm making is it began with people trying to limit that cost. And ever increasingly, as it interferes with their business, ever increasingly as the politicians place more of a burden on businesses, individuals are simply going to say, you know what, we're done. We're done. We can't. So to be on those two bases that people say we're not going to comply. One is those people who just say we're not going to do it, F you, government, and others who just say, look, we can't afford to. It's becoming way too much of a hindrance. And we don't see the efficacy of it simultaneously. Again, don't take this video as me encouraging that or saying that's what you need to do. Guys, you're adults. You'll make your own decisions. I'm literally telling you what I'm seeing around me. And I'm arguing that the implications of what we're seeing, the overall implications that you need to watch out for, is that ordinary citizens will refuse to be the ones who pay the cost of bad policy, bad lockdown policy. That cost being a social one, where your loved ones, ordinary law-abiding people, are being thrown into prison, or an economic one, where people are facing financial ruin whilst politicians laugh in their face. Literally, if you saw that video resurface and float around, where Cyril Ramaphosa in a cabinet meeting, assumingly, are laughing their heads off. Yes, I said there'll be a lockdown. I said the lockdown will end on April 18th, he says. But I didn't tell them which year. They're laughing at you. They're laughing at you in your face. And by goodness, it must be very funny. It's funny because they're making a full salary at the end of the month. You're not. So of course they see the humor. And we don't. So what I want to leave you with is this. As you continue to make law-abiding people, ordinarily law-abiding people, common petty criminals, because you're trying to enforce common petty legislation and regulations and really diktats from politicians, handed down to us by a squirrel, an asshat, and Buffalo Bill, it is those ordinary people who are simply just going to say, you know what, no. No. And that if you continue to send police and the army to brutalize, arrest, and subject ordinary people to humiliation, you can bet your bottom dollar that overall, you're going to erode the value of the rule of law, where people don't see the value of the law because it's being thrust upon them in an arbitrary and violent way by politicians who are power hungry. That is a very dangerous trend, and is the point I'm making in this video of where we're heading. Very dangerous place to find yourself in, where police now have to deal with real criminals, hardened ones, and a growing number of ordinarily law-abiding people simply saying no. We don't consent to your politicians who have sent you here. Neither do we consent to you as law enforcement. That is a very dangerous place that we're heading in as South Africans. And what is at the heart of it? The lockdown and the asinine regulations by politicians. So that's the video, that's the point, that's the vlog. Let me know what you think, because I can tell you now, that is the direction we're heading in as a country. And let me quickly say this, because I've noticed now that there's all sorts of groupings that take my videos out of context to drive their own narrative of what I'm saying. This is not a video that's me saying, yeah, go out there and break the law. I'm not saying that. That's not this video's message. This video is pointing out to you that there are people already going out there and saying they're going to break the law. That is what's already happening. And it doesn't need me or anybody else who's critical of lockdown to say that. You're seeing in front of you the erosion of the rule of law in this country, whilst the idiots clap on for their favorite politicians. That's the video, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments, of course. I'm seeing a lot of Ronaldo Khos hateration in the comments. I don't know what he did. There's something up in the comments here. Let me maybe take 2 minutes to go through the comments. Brendan Campbell, I see you, homie, with the comment. We're not sheep on our track to be a slaughterhouse. I would hope not. Gabi, hi, Rav. That's my rabbi, who I haven't seen and spoken to in a long time. Yeah, wow, on the spot here. But Happy New Year to you, Rav. Hopefully I'll get back onto the shears. Shireen De Silva, I see you. But guys, yeah, let me maybe end it there. And thank you to all the admins. Kenny Kung Fu Kenny, I see you, homie. Let me end it there to say, Let me know what you think about this video, because the major point I'm driving it here is that there is going to be a fundamental breakdown in the rule of law in this country, not because people are criminals in nature, but because this government and its politicians have turned ordinarily law-abiding citizens into people who feel the need to break petty laws that actually harm the faith, flag, family, and freedom type individual. And what you're going to see as a consequence, ever increasingly, is communities literally withdrawing their consent. Withdrawing their consent to be governed by these politicians, number one, and also withdrawing their consent to be policed by this law enforcement. And people are going to become effective lagers. Communities are going to become lagers in this country that just do not recognize the government and the state in one way or the other. In one way or the other. And it's all politicians, by the way. The DA in the Western Cape will not be exempt. The DA in the Western Cape will not be exempt. And my only question that I really want to pose is, will this translate into a political will in the upcoming local government elections? In other words, will people lose the goldfish memory stuff, where they forget things so easily? And will they punish these politicians at the electorate? And there's one of two ways people can punish the electorate. Number one is either A, they withdraw their vote completely. They withdraw their vote completely, and they join that growing number of people, about 18 million plus now, of South Africans who are eligible to vote but do not vote. That could be the one path people take. The other path is they might switch allegiances. The ANC is already polling badly, and they know that. It's already polling badly. So you might have people who switch allegiance. In the Western Cape, the DA is also not polling that well. So one of those two things you're going to see. But the ultimate thing here that is the real danger is people withdrawing their consent to be governed. And when that day comes, I'm warning you, the viewer of this video, it will be very difficult for this current government and law enforcement to then try and reassert the rule of law. Once people say the law doesn't serve me and it doesn't serve my interests and it doesn't protect or look after me, it'll be very difficult for any politician, any law enforcement official at that point to try and reassert the rule of law in a society. And unfortunately, that's what this lockdown and the petty regulations, which are seemingly enforced with such vigor by politicians, but when we ask them to enforce the law against the real criminals, they become lax on that point. It is that hypocrisy which a lot more people are beginning to call out. I've received messages, inboxes. Some people have WhatsApped me from some of these communities here in the Cape Flats who are subject to some of the most horrific violence, asking the question, how is it possible that Bheki Cele, the asshat, was able to send police, of course followed by a throng of media, and soldiers out to the beaches faster than he did in trying to enforce the law and to bring peace and calm onto the Cape Flats and the gang-ridden areas? People are beginning to ask really tough questions, and no amount of waffle from politicians, no amount of shilling by their friends in the media are going to prevent the response that I'm talking about, which is an erosion of the rule of law, number one, and number two, hopefully political consequences in the next election. That's the commentary, guys. That's what I wanted to shout you guys out on this vlog. Let me know what you think. Jakes, I see you from Kakamas in the comment section. But let me know what you think, please, in the comment section. If you watch this via the link on Facebook, throw me a comment on Facebook. I'll really appreciate that. Gabi, thank you so much. Good to see you. And thank you, guys. Remember, if you want to support the work, guys, I am out and about on the road. All that information is in the descriptor of this video. Still busy, doing a lot of work, planning. Really awesome campaigns are coming. It's not going to be just me talking to a camera. We're going to be on the ground, and some of you are going to get involved in that. So look forward to that. We're doing the groundwork, the planning work for that, and we're looking to launch something in mid-February. So something's coming, guys. Please, 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 if you are supporting the show, please continue supporting it. We'll need every single rand and cent and shekel to do some of the work that we're looking to do as a BDL campaign. With that being said, I can finally say it, and a reminder to you, never trust a car.